plans are, I have to finish, I had 3 options, I guess. But I chose to stay as a nanny for the rest of my visa. And then I have a very good chances. I didn't know that, but I have a very good chance to go to school here. And this is what I want to do, because I called a university like on Friday, and they said they will count my Russian diploma as American bachelor degree. So I would like to do MBA. I think I will kind of practice my English a little bit more, or this much more, and then, so I would like to get an MBA here. Okay. That's it.
Natalia, can you talk about your impression of the United States before you came, and then what is different, from what your impression was?
Okay. Russians believe that Americans are hypocrites because they smile and do nothing, but I say it's politeness, pretty much okay. Then I thought that Americans are very selfish, and they don't care about anybody else. Now, when I came, I saw that for Russians to have a car, it's a lot, okay? So you must be very rich. So when I came here, and with my mentality and the knowledge I had, and I was like, wow, goodness, everyone has a car, so they must be rich. But you don't have public transportation that we do. So it's not an option. You have to have a car to live here. That was the first myth that I ruined, and I helped about 100 of Russians to, stop thinking about Americans as, those who are like very selfish and not caring, because you are. Another thing, the reason why we think you're hypocrites, and we discussed that at the teens class. You think Russians are hostile because they do not smile to you and because they do not talk. Okay, Russian, if he will or she will, I will never tell you. Well, now I will, because I know your traditions. But anyway, an average Russian will never tell you have a nice day unless you're a friend of his. Or he will never tell you hi. He will never ask you, how are you? But when a Russian asks you, how are you? He expects you to open up and just tell him how you're doing. So when the shocking part is when the missionaries come, and again, these are just different cultures. When the missionaries come to Russia and they go, hi, how are you? And then they leave, Russians go, wow. Okay. And then very often, well, here in the culture too, when you say, hi, how are you? You don't expect anything but good or fine. And that's okay, that's a part of your culture. In Russia, like if you go to Russia and if you ask someone who speaks English, hi, how are you? They tell you bad. Like they tell you, they will speak about an event, usually a bad event in our lives. And the reason why the Russians will be speaking a lot about bad things is that we were raised and we have never been praised. That's why, again, the second reason why we think that you're hypocrites is that when you say, oh, you're so good, like, oh, thank you, when we just, took your dish and washed it, you go, thank you. But like, what for? Like, what does he want from me? So it's sort of something that you grew up with, but this is so foreign to us because during the years, I was told how bad I am, where I make mistakes, and there's no motivation, not motivation at all. So, I thought that every American is rich and every American is hypocrite. And this is not true. This is not true. And then you can actually share. This is great. Yeah. Okay.
I may want to say something about this, maybe not. But it sounds like that cultural difference is connected to the idea of God. If you think that God is about punishment, then life takes a color. If you think God is love,
Right.
life takes a different color.
Right.
And I think that's part of the
Well, let me tell you a story. This is really fascinating. This is one of the greatest testimonies I've got in my life. I studied in a state university. You're not allowed to talk about God in this university. I became a Christian when I finished my first year. And I was praying, it was my last year, I was praying, God, I would like to serve you. Let me know how. I showed my attitude, I acted my faith, but I was not allowed to speak. So I don't know how you do those researches and defend your diploma. What we do is we do this one final year research, and then in front of my classmates and most outstanding teachers, we present it, sort of defend it. Kind of very little talk about what it is, and then we are asked questions. Okay? So for my research, you may think I'm a smart cookie, but I'm not. And I'm very bad at science. I mean notions. I understand science, but in a very simple language. But again, this research was supposed to be in a very complete one. So when I looked at the topics of the researches I can take, and I'm a linguist, there was not that much. I mean, there was one, does the English language have three tenses, future, past, and present, or not? Is, future just an analytical form? I'm like, I'm doing that. But one of them was metaphor, how you can express emotions through metaphor. Well, guess what? The only example I know is Jesus, okay, his parables. I sort of, could justify it into metaphors and stuff, and he spoke metaphors, as a matter of fact. Well, I came to the teacher and I said, I would like to base my research on the New Testament. She goes, you're crazy. You know that they will never accept this paper. And she goes, you spent 4 years, that was my 5th one, in the university, for what? And I go, I understand, but can I try anyway? I know my mom would have killed me, and I'm serious. I mean, I know mothers never, but I knew how much they put into me, because I was the only child. And if I ruined that, that was something. But I chose it, okay? Because I had to put it into scientific language. I couldn't, so most of my research, it was like 50 pages, I was preaching. So when I took it, I basically was saying, when Jesus said, take your eye or cut your hand, it didn't mean like you didn't really have to do that, and I explained why. So the basic things that they don't. I mean, in Russia, you see, that's the picture that they have. When I took it to the teacher, she goes, this is preaching. This is not a scientific research. And I had to defend it in about a month. And I remember I was sitting at my dinosaur computer, and I'm like, God, well, I really don't know how to put it into, I don't know even notions, like enough scientific notions to put it together in sort of camouflage the preaching. And I don't know how. For me, it's still a mystery now. I found a couple of texts. I couldn't, let's say, notions, scientific notions. For me, it made no sense. I just put them together, and I kept on putting them together unless my teacher said that's okay. But I didn't get what is in that, okay? So I left a little bit of preaching and a lot of, these things. When it was the day of my defense, I prayed that the teachers that need to hear the gospel will come, that, the students, their hearts will be open. But I knew that I was sort of going on the execution stake, because I was not going to speak about science.